Hello and welcome to part 2 of the series Programming from the Perspective of a High Schooler. So, last time, in part 1 rather, we discussed the cout function and the basics of a C++ hello world code, or basically when you want to print something or just basically print, okay? So that's what we learned in part 1. So in part 2, we're going to be learning about variables, how to declare them, how to initialize them, how to use them in the cout function, and the different types of data. Okay? So let's start. So since we already discussed the cout function last time and these other parts here, so I guess and I suppose I can use these already as a template. Although I can and maybe I will still discuss them again if if needed. Okay, if I modify them or something like that. Let's just remove this using namespace std. Let us replace that with using std cout, using std endl, and that. Okay, first off, what is a variable? Okay, what is a variable? So basically, kasi, because this string right here, so last time we talked about the string. What is a string? A string is a set of characters. So this string here, this is a string literal. A string literal it means that its value would never change. No? Well, how would it change? It's not stored in anything, no? How would we be able to change it? The only way to change this is if we change the source code itself. If we change this to A, then we were able to change it, but we had to change it using the source code, and we had to change the exact string, no, which is not good. Now, what if we store our data in a variable? So, for example, we want to print out a number. We want to print 1. So 1 is an integer again. It's an integer. And integers don't need to be stored inside double quotation marks. However, they can be. And if ever they are stored inside double quotation marks, that only means that they are not integers, but rather strings. Okay, let's execute that, compile and run. This should work. If not, then okay, it did work. So what we just did was we basically outputted an integer, which is 1. So meaning the integer was 1. What if we store this value 1 inside a variable so that we can change it anytime? And we don't have to change this. We don't have to change this to 2 if we want it, if we want to output 2. So what we can do is we can declare a variable. So basically, the format for declaring a variable. So okay, so I'm going to put that into a comment so that I won't have to say it again and again. So basically, we have the variable type, variable name. Let me just abbreviate this to var. Variable type, variable name. Then it can be like that, or it can be var type, var name equals what is the value? Var value. Okay? So what's the difference between the two? So in the first one, we only declared the variable. So this is called the variable declaration, meaning we set the variable's data type, we set the variable's name, we didn't set its value. So when we set its value, this part is called the variable initialization. Okay, we initialize the value of the variable. So the difference in these two is that if we use the first one, we can later do var name equals var value. So in different lines. So that's the only difference. It doesn't make it doesn't really do anything much unless you want to to make it so that the value of the variable will be inputted by the user. Of course, you're going to use the first one, but you can still use the third one if you want. Okay, so we have that. Okay, now again the value is 1. We want to output 1. So what type of variable or what data type is 1? Excuse me. Again, 1 can be an integer, a string, or even a character. If 1 is a character, then it would be like that. If it is a string, it would be like that. Okay? If it is an integer, it would be like that. Okay? So let's say 1 is an integer. So data type is integer, which is int. So after this, I will discuss the different data types and what other data types we can use when declaring variables. Okay, so let's say that the data type is int or integer, int for short. What is the name? So when it comes to naming, it can be anything. So let's just say int number. Int number, let's do the second way, no? Because we know the value, we can do the second way. It will make our job easier because we can compress these two lines into one line. Okay, so int number equals 1, and don't forget the semicolon. Now we can replace 1 here with number, and we will be able to output 1. Okay, there you go. Okay, you see the output is 1 as planned. Okay, now we proceed to the next part. Now, what other types of variables can we declare? Well, of course, there are integers. Another type of value. Okay, let's write the types of variables. So we have int. What else? Okay, we can use floats. Float or double. So what is float? What is double? So floats and doubles are basically the same. The only difference is the storage size or the memory size that they have. So basically, these are not integers, of course, they are floats and doubles because they have decimal values. So for example, 1.89. So this is not integer anymore. If we try executing this and compile and run, would it work? See, the output is 1, but the value is not 1, it's 1.89. But it only took 1 because the data type is integer. So now we have to use float. Float is basically integers but with decimal values. So if we use float, it will work. Oh, see, it worked. Float or double. Float or double. The main difference, the main difference is that the memory size of float equals 4 bytes. 4 bytes ba or 4 bits? Wait. What is the character size? The memory of float. Okay, 4 bytes. The memory of floats equals 4 bytes tapos double. Then double equals 8 bytes. Okay, I had to recheck because I don't want giving false false statements. Float or double. What else? We can do car. Car is character. This. Okay? Let's say character number equals, okay, we have to use the single quotation marks because, or the apostrophe because this is a character, okay? So we have 1. So if we execute that, it's still just 1. But what is the difference between integer 1 and character 1? Okay? So let's say you have number plus number. Number plus number, right? Okay, execute. what would be the output? Oh, what is that? Oh, see? What is that? I also don't know. But if, let's say, this is integer number plus number, integer number plus number, then we execute it, compile and run, the output would be 2. Okay? So, basically, you cannot perform mathematical operations if your number is not an integer, a float, or a double, or basically modifications of those. Because they store the numbers as numbers. Well, characters store number as 1. Characters store the 1 or the value 1 as a character and not as a number, okay? So that is the main difference between the two. So what else? We have int, float double, we have char. We also have the boolean. The boolean the boolean data type. So basically, it's either true or false. So bool btv or just bool true equals true. Bool true. Wait, let me change this t. Compile and run. Execute 1. So why is 1 outputted when the value is true? That is because true stands for 1. Okay, true equals 1, false equals 0. Okay, that's how it works. So this is used in logical operations and etc. So we have int, float double, char, bool. So what else? We have void. Void data types. There are no such thing as declaration of variables with data type void. But do remember that because that will be used in later parts of the series. Okay, so as far as I remember, these are the built-in data types. But the most used, or at least what I use the most, is not here. The data type string. Okay, you see, string is a data type, obviously, but it is not built in. Okay, it's not part of the built-in C. Okay, C++, C or C++. We have to include the header file that has the string data type. Okay, so that is why we're going to write sharp include. Okay, wait. Okay, sharp include string. That's it. Then we're going to write using std string. Let's remove so that there you go. Okay, so string is found in the standard library. So we're going to use std string. Okay, for the string keyword or the string data type. So let me just change this to string. Okay, let's say string again. You remember string hello world. String hw equals. You need to put the string inside double quotation marks. So we can write string hw equals double quotation marks hello world. Okay, so and then we output that. Wait, okay, we forgot the semicolon. Okay, this is what I am talking about. Okay, do not forget the semicolon. If you see an error like that, it already means that the error is because of the lack of semicolons. So there you go. If you see, if we remove this, would it work? If it works, then I don't know how it works, but it's not supposed to work. Okay, see. Basically, it's saying that string is not defined in this function. String is not defined. It's because we did not include the header file that defines or that has the defined string. Okay, so we have using okay, let's try not putting the using std string. Would it work? Oh, still not, because Dev C++ does not know where to look for string. Okay, now we have that, we know that it works. So what other things am I supposed to am I supposed to discuss in this part 2? So we have the variables, how to declare, how to initialize, how to use them. Okay, basically if you want to use a variable inside in a printf statement, I mean cout statement, okay, you're basically just going to write the variable, the name of the variable, okay? Not the type of the variable, not the variable value itself, but rather the variable name, and it would work. You don't need to put it inside inside double quotation marks, even if it is string, even if it is a string or it is a character, whatever. You just need to put the variable name, and then this for every part of the variable, for every part of the for every part that you put in the right side of the cout statement, you have to use a double less than symbol. Okay? So for example, uh, if we remove that and we just do that and then we do hello, then we execute, compile and run. So you see hello world. No? That works. So I guess this is it for this video. It's a bit shorter than the first one, but I guess it's expected, because the only things that I had to discuss in this part were these types of data, the data types, the basic data types. Of course, there are more data types, and then to declare, initialize variables, and etc. So I guess this is where I end this video, and thank you for watching. Thank you. Goodbye.